Hi friends, hope you are all good. In today's lecture, I will be discussing about the borders, the settling of the borders between British India and Afghanistan, the Northwest Frontier Province, how it was created, the Durand Line, which is presently the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan, and the Third Anglo-Afghan War. All those students who are preparing for UPSC Prelims 2020, for them, the Third Anglo-Afghan War is of vital importance because it will be completing its 100 years. So, first, understanding the Northwest Frontier, we should first understand what is Northwest Frontier and what is Durand Line and what is the tribal areas. So, my dear friends, the things started with great game. Both Russia and British wanted Afghanistan to be their part or to be their buffer state or to have a puppet ruler in Afghanistan. So in this great game, there is a person called as Dost Muhammad Khan, who was the emperor of Afghanistan, and both Russia and British approached him. However, the Dost Muhammad Khan wanted to do friendship with British, but he couldn't do the friendship with the British because British were not able to give him Peshawar, which was occupied by Ranjit Singh. So he went to Russia. As a result, the first Anglo-Afghan war took place, and this struggle, the political struggle of Afghanistan, was sponsored either by Russia or British, and it is referred as Great Game. Now, gradually, the British had acquired Indus, and in 1849 they had acquired Punjab. So they had acquired this area from Ranjit Singh. They had acquired Sindh area from the Amirs of Sindh. Now they came in direct contact with Afghanistan as well as the tribal areas between the Afghanistan and Pakistan. So this is a hilly area as well as a tribal area which lies between Afghanistan and Pakistan. This is a natural defense of India with the Central Asian countries. There are five passes, and if an able administrator or an able king is there, he will be able to provide strong defense at the passes so that there is an end towards any invasion from Central Asia. The first invasion that came from Central Asia was of Alexander. Even the Aryans, they came from these five passes. So it was very important for the British to have a very secure frontier, a scientific frontier that can be defendable. But the problem here was the tribes. So in this video we will be discussing that after the British had made the Durand line in 1893 and 1896, they had formalized it, but the problem lies between the tribes, this area. So this is the tribal area, and you can see this tribal area, and it was of a big problem, specifically from the period of 1896 till 1902. Lot of British officers, lot of British army people were killed over here. So it's a very important area, and even today the Pakistani government is not able to control this area. So my dear friends, the original NWFP was this much, but now Pakistan has divided the NWFP into two areas. One is FATA and other is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So let us understand what we want. Let us understand that what had happened, how did the Durand line was established, and how did the tribes were pacified and were made. Were we? How did the Curzon, actually Curzon was a viceroy who had made peace with the tribes. So let us understand this thing. So in this particular map, I have shown you the map of political map of Pakistan, and in this particular map this is the original Pakistan. However, the Pakistan in 1947 occupied this portion of Kashmir and had also occupied Gilgit, and they gifted a small portion this to China, that is Aksai Chin, in 1963. Now, when the Britishers they annexed Punjab, so the Britishers they got this whole Punjab plus the Indian Punjab. This is the Indian Punjab, and they got this portion of Punjab also, the Peshawar region, which was earlier the part of Afghanistan, but was occupied by Ranjit Singh. The Peshawar part was occupied by Ranjit Singh, and Peshawar is right now the capital of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Britishers then got Sindh area. First they got the Sindh, then they got the Punjab area, and then Britishers slowly and gradually captured this Baluchistan area. Baluchistan was also a tribal area, but the main epicenter of problem was the tribes of northwest frontier province, that is the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So this was the major problematic area for the British. So let us understand. We have through map we have understood where we are talking about, which area. Now in this particular area which I have highlighted with the red color, in this particular area the geographical terrain is not suitable for agriculture. The people of this region, the inhabitant of this region, they used to plunder, raid, invade the nearby areas, and whatever the money or whatever they looted, and that with that looted money they used to earn their livelihood. So are you understanding the geographical terrain of this area? So now let us understand what is Northwest Frontier province all about and how did the borderline Durand came here. So as I told you, this is the hilly region lying between the Indus and the Afghanistan and extending from Pamir North to the shores of Arabian Sea is constituted the northwestern frontier of India. So it is this. So we are talking about this region. This is called the northwest frontier of India, and the Durand line is here. This is Durand line. So the hilly region lying between the Indus and Afghanistan and extending from Pamir North to the shores of Arabian Sea is constituted as northwestern frontier of India. It is a long belt roughly of 1931 kilometers, and it has often served as a natural defense to India from any invading army from the northwest. However, the invaders came through by using these five passes, like the Alexander, like the Aryans, like the Shakas, like the Yuchis, the Kushans. They had followed these five passes and entered into the Indian subcontinent. The conquest of Sindh in 1843 and the annexation of Punjab in 1849 carried by the British uh, carried by the British. So the British had now their boundaries till Indus and brought them in contact with Baluch and Pathan tribes who were mostly independent. But the Emperor of Afghanistan, he claimed that it is my part, but actually these tribes neither listened to the Afghans, neither listened to the Ranjit Singh or to the British. So they were owner of their own will. These Baluch and Pathan tribes who inhabited the region between Indus and hilly tracts were fanatical Muslim tribesmen who live on petty trading and plundering the areas of the nearby. So as I told you, they used to plunder the nearby areas because the geographical condition does not is not suitable for agriculture or some other vocation. So they used to plunder the areas and they used to earn their livelihood by this. The British attempted and desired to stop the raids and invasion of these tribes at the newly acquired territories, especially at Peshawar and Quetta. So they wanted to stop these raids. So now, how could they stop these raids? So this answer will be provided by John Lawrence. So we will read about him in just few seconds. Secondly, the British also wanted to have a very strong frontier at the northwesterns, which can be defendable because Russia had an eye on Afghanistan, and Afghanistan was a buffer state between British India and Russia. So Lytton, Lansdowne, and Curzon, they tried to build a strategic roads, railways, and even annexation of some strategic tribal areas just to ensure that the borders, the northwest frontier, is very strong. The only objective of the British administration was the desire to reach a scientific frontier. This means, so if anybody asks you what is the definition of scientific frontier, this means the rectification of the boundaries between British India and Afghanistan in such a manner that the boundary is defendable to the requirements of the science of this strategy in opposition to a haphazard frontier. Haphazard frontier means that if the pass is not with you, then the pass cannot be defended. So it is very important to have the hilly pass under your control. The annexation of Punjab in 1849 led to the discovery of problems regarding raiding of Pashtun tribesmen. Now, the settling disputes with the tribesmen in 1849 was practically not possible by the British as they had lost the first Anglo-Afghan war in 1842. So they did not wanted to annoy the Afghan emperor more, because the Afghan emperor always used to say that these tribes, Pashtun tribes, are under my domain, are under my protection, and already the relations of British and the Afghan ruler was spoiled due to the first Anglo-Afghan war. So the first thing, how to control these tribes was how to control these tribes and what should be the British policies in Afghanistan was spelled out after the first Anglo-Afghan war by John Lawrence. John Lawrence, who was the first Chief Commissioner of Punjab in 1852, was a senior British officer who had witnessed the Pashtun tribes raid. Thus, he formulated the two-point strategy. Very important, he formulated the two-point strategy. So, this two-point strategy is for the tribes, the Pashtun tribes, and there is another policy, that is masterly inactivity, which we will read in few seconds. It is with respect to the Afghanistan. The deputy commissioner, he instructed the deputy commissioners of the districts, like we have DMs in some states, district collector in some states, and same like Haryana and Punjab, we have the designation of deputy commissioner for IAS officers. So he instructed the deputy commissioners of the districts bordering tribal areas will make the Pashtun tribes understand that British have no interest. They will clearly tell to the Pashtun tribes that British have no interest in interfering in your internal matters. British don't want to annex your territories, but you come inside the territories which is under the control of the British. And the second thing what they did, that they in order to civilize, in order to westernize the tribal man, they opened hospitals, they opened schools, they opened community services at the tribal areas, and they started employing the tribes in the army and police. So there is the problem of unemployment can be solved. For Afghanistan, John Lawrence had propounded the policy of masterly inactivity. So the two-point strategy is for the tribes, and for Afghanistan the policy is masterly inactivity. So when he became the Viceroy of India in 1864, according to this policy, the British will not interfere in the internal matters of Afghanistan and will not conspire to dethrone the Afghan government. Rather, British will recognize any person who is actually a de facto ruler of Afghanistan. Lord Lytton became the Viceroy of India in 1876, and he had thrown away both the policies of masterly inactivity. He said we have to interfere in Afghanistan. We have to define our relations with Afghanistan. Masterly inactivity policy will not work. If required, we need to even capture the tribal area as well as interfere in the internal affairs of Afghanistan. According to Lytton, the relations with Afghanistan could no longer be left ambiguous. He interfered and acquired all tribal areas west of Sindh. So he acquired what? He acquired Baluchistan. He acquired Quetta, formally disposing the tribal chief Khan of Khalat in 1876 and made Baluchistan a political agency, which was later called as Chief Commissioner Province of Baluchistan. On the other hand, he was waiting for an opportunity to interfere in Afghanistan, which was provided by the forceful entry of the Russian envoy in Afghanistan, further culmination into the Second Afghan Anglo War. So, my dear students who were there in my previous lecture, we have discussed about the Second Anglo-Afghan War, and in that particular lecture, we have discussed that there was war with respect to the Balkan states in Europe. Russia had occupied it from Turkey. Then there was something called as Treaty of Berlin. So till that time Treaty of Berlin was not signed. So the Russian wanted to force Britishers that Britishers should give away their claim over the Balkan. So they forcefully entered into Afghanistan so that the problem for the British India could be created. So Sher Ali could not stop Russians to forcefully enter Afghanistan, but he said, the Britishers, please don't enter into Afghanistan. And since Britishers were refused, so Lord Lytton had proclaimed the Second Anglo-Afghan War, which was won by the British, and that is why the foreign affairs of Afghanistan was surrendered by the government of Afghanistan to British India. So the next in queue after Lytton, the major viceroy who had followed his policy was Lansdowne, the Lord Marquis of Lansdowne. He remained as the viceroy of India from 1888 to 1894. So, in order to understand the tribal conflict, how now the tribal conflict will come and how Durand Line will come, what was the cause of Durand Line? That is Gilgit. So, because of Gilgit, it was necessary to fix a line between Afghanistan and India. So let us understand what is Gilgit. Gilgit is a portion of India which is illegally occupied by Pakistan. So in 1842, a political struggle for crown of Gilgit was going on, and Karim Khan, who took the assistance of Sikh governor of Kashmir directly under the Lahore state, was successfully in overthrowing the Yashin ruler of Gilgit. The Sikh governor of Kashmir had stationed his general Nathu Singh at Gilgit, and after the first Anglo-Sikh War of 1845 to 46, Treaty of Lahore and Treaty of Amritsar was signed. And through that Treaty of Amritsar, the Britishers gave Gilgit to Gulab Singh Dogra. In the Treaty of Amritsar 1846, the whole Jammu and Kashmir was ceded to Gulab Singh Dogra, but the Gulab Singh Dogra had to pay two amounts. One was a subsidy amount of rupees 75 lakhs. So some books it is written 50 lakhs, that is in Indian rupees, but 75 lakhs is in Nanak rupees, Nanak Sahi rupees, which was the currency of Punjab, and rupees 1 crore as the war indemnity. So Lord Lytton was apprehensive. Then this was in 1846. Now coming to 1877, coming back to the Lytton time, Lord Lytton was apprehensive of Russian plan regarding Afghanistan and North India. Thus in 1877 he requested Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir to station one British officer as officer on special duty to Gilgit with a contingent of British army to protect northern frontiers, which Maharaja allowed due to the British pressure. Lord Marquis of Lansdowne became the Viceroy of India from 1888 to 1894. He forwarded the policy of Lord Lytton and he started interfering in the tribal areas of bordering Afghanistan. So now what had happened? During the time of Lytton, the Britishers have reached Gilgit, which was under Maharaja Gulab Singh Dogra, the Dogra dynasty. And now Lansdowne wanted further. He wanted to further use the forward policy and go inside the tribal areas and also inside Afghanistan. So he followed the policy of Lord Lytton and he started interfering in the tribal areas bordering Afghanistan. He ordered Maharaja of Kashmir Pratap Singh to surrender Hunza and Nagar in Gilgit to British in 1899 in consideration of the unpaid amount of the war indemnity as proclaimed in the Treaty of Amritsar in 1846. So Maharaja of Kashmir had no choice. He had surrendered Hunza and Nagar to the British, and the British had created Gilgit Agency. Now, when the British had created the Gilgit Agency, so if you see the border again, I will again take you to that map. So you see this Gilgit. So this Gilgit is here. It is bordering Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. This is again Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is a tribal area. Are you seeing? Here is Gilgit and it is the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. This was also a tribal area. So now again the Britishers are interfering in the tribal affairs and they're interfering in the tribal area. So, but on the other hand, what had happened? The occupation of British alarmed Afghan ruler Abdur Rahman, who wrote a letter to Lansdowne requesting him for a constitution of border commission for settling a border line between British India and Afghanistan. As a result, in 1893, Lansdowne appointed Mortimer Durand in 1893 to head a border commission. And further, the Durand line was established in 1896. However, the tribal areas they accepted the Durand line only in 1902. But now, what had happened? That in Gilgit, wherever the Britishers will go, they will not like to come back. So they started recruiting the locals, and in 1913, to counter any future threats from the state of forces of Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir, they thought even the JNK may revolt against the British. They raised the Gilgit Scouts. So scouts are something that scouts and rifles. There are two terms in army: scouts and rifles. So here the army, it is not a regular army. You can term it as an paramilitary. So they will recruit the locals, and the locals will be stationed there only. They will be used for the defensive purpose. Like the first paramilitary of India was Assam Rifles. So in Assam Rifles, the tribals of Assam, the tribes of Assam were recruited for protecting the tea states of the Britishers. So same way here, the Britishers recruited the locals and made them the part of the Gilgit Scouts. During the 1947 war, when India and Pakistan got partitioned, so there was a war with respect to Kashmir. The British commanding officer of the Gilgit Scouts took advantages of the situation and had conspired a mutiny against the Dogra governor of Gilgit. Major William Brown assassinated the governor of Gilgit. He was under the Dogra dynasty, and the Major Brown, after successfully executing the coup, had telegraphed the Pakistani army chief to take over Gilgit. So let us see the Durand line. So in 1893, British appointed Mortimer Durand for heading a boundary commission between Afghanistan and British India. On 12th November 1893, British India and Afghanistan signed a single-page agreement elucidating commitment not to exercise interference beyond Durand line. The Durand Commission, having British and Afghan delegates, completed the demarcation survey in 1896, covering about 1300 kilometers. So the agreement, the demarcation process got over in 3 years. But my dear friends, note down this important thing. The 1893 agreement only talked about that once Durand line is fixed, neither Afghanistan will interfere in India nor India will interfere in Afghanistan. So the Durand line demarcated NWFP, which is presently bifurcated into two regions, FATA and the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And NWFP's the Durand line is extended towards Baluchistan also, where Afghanistan is touching the border. And in 1905, it was again officially signed by the Afghan king Habibullah Khan. And later, after the Third Anglo-Afghan War, the next ruler was Amanullah Khan, who again signed and recognized the Durand Line as a border, international border between British India and Afghanistan through the Treaty of Rawalpindi. So now, very important is that you had fixed who had fixed the Durand Line. It was the Afghan and the British India. But who were left behind? The tribes. They had not considered the tribes. They have not consulted the tribes. As a result, the British will have to face the music, and you will see there will be a lot of tribal warfare. The tribes will be attacking the British outpost, and in this course, you will also hear about Battle of Saragiri, on which there is a Bollywood movie of Akshay Kumar, Kesari also. So let us understand that. So the Durand Agreement established friendly relations with the Emperor of Afghanistan. However, the frontier did not become more peaceful. Rather, there was a greater chance of coalition with the uncivilized tribes, the Pashtuns. Here, not the Baluchis, but who will fight the British? The Pashtuns. The Durand Line had left about half of the Pashtun tribesmen homeland under the British rule. The chief of the Pashtun tribes of the Swat, Dir, Chital, and Am were not consulted before demarcation. Through Durand Line, British had settled disputes with Amir of Afghanistan only, not with the Pashtun tribes. So, are you getting what is the problem? So, in 1896, the Pashtun tribes didn't show their concurrence. He said, this is an agreement between the British and the Emperor of the Afghanistan. It is not an agreement done with us. So, they started targeting the British outpost at the Durand Line. So Durand Line and started attacking the nearby British establishment. The two chief tribes, it is Afridi, the very same Shahid Afridi, that same tribe, the Afridi and the Oskazai were leading the attacks on the British assets. And these two tribes were also responsible for the Battle of Saragiri. I have discussed Battle of Saragiri. Just few seconds more, we will discuss Saragiri also. Thus, the new Viceroy of India, the new Viceroy of India, that is Lord Elgin, had sent a large British troops for the punitive action against these tribes. These tribesmen had submitted in 1899, but the casualty on the both sides were very high. A large number of British troops were now stationed in the forts of these tribal areas. So Curzon arrived in India in 1899 and remained as the viceroy. Now the person who will be the most important one, who will actually give a solution to this tribal warfare, was Curzon. He was a very sensible and a very matured viceroy who was posted to India, and he will give a practical solution, which in my personal opinion, I would like to say he had given the real scientific frontier to India. So Curzon arrived in India in 1899 and remained as the viceroy from 1899 to 1905. On his arrival, he became concerned over the issue of large number of British troops being stationed at the tribal areas of the Durand Line. Thus, he wanted to follow the policy of withdrawal and concentration. Why did he wanted to withdraw British troops? A, the British troops were in very large number. B, the British Indian Army troops were required to fight wars, battles in other fronts throughout the world, like in Egypt, like in other countries of Africa. So British Indian troops were required there. But most of the British Indian troops were stationed at the Durand Line. In order to make a peace in these areas of the Durand Line, he followed a realistic and a common sense policy towards the tribesmen and took the following steps. First, he ordered that all the British troops from the advanced position should withdraw. And he said that we will organize the local paramilitary, like the scouts and the rifles. We will employ the locals and they will be put under the British command. They will be responsible of defending India from the northwest frontier. However, he maintained some British troops in some segments of Durand line. The complete protection and defense of Gilgit was now placed under Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir. So now again Gilgit becomes a part of the Jammu and Kashmir princely state. The defense and the security of the tribal areas were left to the newly constituted local defense bodies like scouts and rifles, and British officers will train and command the local regiments, employing the tribal people and thus solving the problem of unemployment. In 1901, Curzon attempted to put all Pashtuns under one administrative head. He created NWFP, North West Frontier Province, and he separated the administration of tribal area from the administration of Punjab. And he gave certain autonomy to the tribal heads. Ever since the annexation of Punjab in 1849, these areas were under government of Punjab, but now they were placed under the chief commissioner directly reporting to the central government. So earlier they were reporting to the state, now they have to report to the central government. In 1902, he got the tribal darbar, also called as Grand Shora, organized at Peshawar, which was personally attended by him, and more than 3,000 tribesmen and their chief also came. He assured them one thing, that we will not interfere in your internal matters, but if you come to the British territory and do some hanky panky, or you invaded, we will not leave you. Allowances were given by Curzon to the different tribesmen at regular intervals, and so that they keep the roads and passes open to maintain the peace at the frontier. So it is basically giving them some allowance of money so that they also remain silent. So now what is Battle of Saragiri? So as you know, Battle of Saragiri was the cause was the Durand line, because the Pashtun tribes didn't accept it Durand line. So this was a battle fought between the Afghan tribes, not the Afghan kingdom, not the Afghanistan as a country. It was fought between the Afghan tribes and the British, and it had no connection with the Afghan Barkazai Empire. The Saragari fort was constructed between two forts, Fort Gulistan and Fort Lockhart, for the purpose of signaling or communications. As that time we did not had very good communication devices, and the distance between both the forts was too lengthy. So in the middle of the two forts, one more fort was built, that was Fort of Saragari. So British had differences with the Afghan tribes, the Afridi and Orkazai, regarding the execution of Durand line. Thus in 1894, British started making small army posts on the newly established Durand line, which was not acceptable to the local Afghan tribes. In 1894, a small portion of Durand line was given to 36 Sikh regiment of the British Army for manning it. The leaders of the Afghan tribes wanted to teach a lesson to the British government, thus they had planned to take away the Saragari fort, the Fort Gulistan and the Fort Lockhart. So now, my dear friends, it is the story of honor and valor, what today the Indian Army soldiers repeat again and again. So that time, the 21 Sikh soldiers of the Sikh regiment which were under the British Army, they choose to fight against the Afghan tribes. They did not wanted to leave their post, their fort behind without fighting the Afghanis. So the Afghan tribes, led by the Afridi tribe, attacked the Saragari fort on 12 September 1897, which was manned only by 25 Sikh brave soldiers under the command of Havaldar Ishar Singh. They were attacked by 12 to 30,000 Afghan tribes, but they had chosen to remain in Saragari fort and defend it. The details of the ongoing battle was communicated by Sipahi Gurmukh Singh through the holographic device to the Fort Gulistan, and on that very same day, the 21 Sikh soldiers had killed about 8 to 10,000 Afghani tribes. Now, the leader of the Afridi and Orkazai tribe, they thought that they have lost the battle, because by the time they would have attacked the other two forts, Fort of Gulistan and Fort of Lockhart, the British reinforcements have reached. So, my dear friends, every year on 12th September, the 4th Battalion of the Sikh Regiment of Indian Army celebrate or commemorates that day as the Saragari Day. So, coming to the last part of this lecture, that is the Third Anglo-Afghan War, which was fought in 1919. Very important for prelims since it is completing 100 years. So, the after the death of Abdur Rahman Khan, uh, the next Afghan ruler was Habibullah Khan, who was made the new emperor of Afghanistan. He wanted to have a good relations with British, and he also signed a treaty with the British recognizing Durand Line in 1905. He, as I told you in the starting, he wanted to have a good relations with British. So during the World War One, he remained neutral and he did not join the forces of Turkey. Turkey kept on saying this is a holy war, but he didn't join uh, neither the British nor the uh, Sultan of Ottoman Empire, that is Turkey. But this neutral policy of him was criticized by the local Afghanis. So as a result, there were small civil rebellions also in Afghanistan. With the end of World War One, Habibullah was expecting that now the British government will reward him for his assistance of or due to his neutral policy in World War One. So he wrote a letter to the viceroy that Chelmsford, that please, I have been so kind to you. Please give me a seat in the treaty, in the seat of the Versailles Peace Conference in 1919. So it was organized after the end of World War One. So Chelmsford refused to give him any entry to that particular conference. Why? If he had gone to that conference, so the message to the whole world would have gone that the British had loosened its grip on Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is now having its own foreign affairs. So Chelmsford refused him to give him a seat in the Versailles peace conference. Further negotiations were scheduled, but before they could begin, Habibullah was assassinated by his servant on the direction of his third son, that was Amanullah. Now there was a power struggle that who will become the king. One was the brother of Habibullah, Nasrullah Khan, and other was the third son Amanullah. So everybody knew, even the Afghan army suspected that Amanullah would had complicated the situation, and he was the person behind the death of his father. So how Amanullah, in order to secure his position, he started anti-British propaganda and demanded Afghanistan should be free and independent and no longer be bound to Treaty of Gandmak. The Treaty of Gandmak was signed after Second Anglo-Afghan War, which ended in 1879. So Amanullah, sensing the advantage in the rising civil unrest in India caused by the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, decided to invade British India. So after Jallianwala Bagh massacre, there was non-cooperation movement started by Gandhiji. So there was a lot of civil unrest. So he thought that Britishers are busy solving the internal matters, and it is the right time to attack. And he was right in this. And he had launch a surprise attack. In 1919, Afghan army had a very less number. Thus, they requested all the Afghan tribesmen, specifically from the Pashtun Valley, from the NWFP, to join hands with them and attack the British. And on 3rd May, the Afghan army with the tribesmen had attacked the northern frontiers. From Khyber Pass, they entered and they gradually captured the town of Bagh. So the governor of north west frontier portion, he understood what was the plan. He informed the viceroy, that was Chelmsford, and the Chelmsford on 6 May declared war with Afghanistan. So the British, however, had large number of troops were not there in NWFP and Punjab, since most of the British Indian troops had not returned from the fronts of World War One. So the British were not in a position to fight the Afghans with the army. So they used the Royal Air Force, and for the first time the Afghan cities were bombed. So through this use of Royal Air Force, Amanullah was somehow brought to the negotiation table. Amanullah and British, realizing the outcome to be indecisive, agreed for an armistice on 8th August 1919 and negotiated for a peace treaty that is called as Treaty of Rawalpindi. So Treaty of Rawalpindi in 1919, the British government recognized Afghanistan's independence, surrendered its foreign affairs. So they say now Afghanistan, you are completely free. We have no control over you. Both governments of British India and Afghanistan agreed to recognize Durand Line as an international border between British India and Afghanistan. That is why Durand Line is presently the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. The treaty can be cancelled by both parties within 3 years of signing, but neither party cancelled it. So it means both the parties accepted to it. So my dear friends, this was all with respect to the third Anglo-Afghan war and the Durand Line and how did Northwest Frontier Portion province was created. If you have any doubts, you can put it in the comment section, and if you want in some specific history topics there is some ambiguity or some assistance is required, you can mention it in comment section. I will be happy to make a video on it. All the best.